as the data I have shown you, if your interest rate is 6.37% and your inflation rate is, let's say, 6%, then the deployed capital on the return which have been generated is just 0.37%. Okay, so you have not lose the money, but you have also not grown the money. Okay, it has gone nowhere. Your money has gone actually nowhere, but your purchasing power of the money has definitely gone down. Okay, so you need to think that where you are going to invest money, not just to beat the inflation, but also grow your money so that. Hi, good morning. My name is Ashok, and welcome to my channel called Read to Expand. Today, I'm going to talk about the concept of real return, and then I will also talk about that how returns generated by the equity in comparison with fixed deposit and gold. But before we talk about it, we should all need to understand the concept of real return, because that will make the life easier to understand the kind of returns which have been generated by equity. So let's begin. Let me share my screen with with all of you. Well, as you can see, Warren Buffett has made one statement which has become the world famous, called never lose money. And then he said the rule number two is never forget the rule number one. I also personally believe in this particular rule, but nowadays I have a slight disagreement with this particular rule. And the reason behind it is the inflation. See, you can, let's say you have got 100 rupee note, which I explained in one of my old video also, and you have put the 100 rupee note in a locker. Let's say in the year of 2000, you have put that 100 rupees note in a locker, and you have taken the 100 rupee note out from the locker in 2023 in the month of September. Do you think that the kind of product and services which you could have bought in the year of 2000 with 100 rupee note, you can buy the same kind of product and services in the year of 2023 September as well? The answer is no. And who is the culprit? Is the inflation. Because the inflation erodes your purchasing power over a period of time if you do not grow the money. Okay, so it's not just important that you should just save the money. You should not lose the money. That is fine, but you should also grow the money if you want to beat the inflation. So let me present you the kind of inflation we have in our country over a certain period of time. Okay, so I have taken the data from 2008 onwards, the kind of inflation rate we have in our country, which is average around 6.02%. And as you can see, from, let's say, in 2008, you have an inflation rate around 8.35%. 2009 is 10.88. In 2021 is 5.13. In 2022, you had inflation rate around 6.70. So if you do the, on an average, we have around 6% kind of inflation. But mind you, this particular data is a government declared data. Okay. But in real terms, the inflation is much higher. Okay. You can take any household in India, and I'm sure they will tell you that in 4 to 5 years of time, the household expenses have become doubled. Okay. it has become doubled, and in certain household even less than 5 years. Okay, so you need to be very mindful that saving money is important, but it's not enough. You should also grow the money. And the since we are talking about in this video that comparison of equity returns to the fixed deposits and gold, I'll show you the data pertaining to the fixed deposits now for the last 20 20 years roughly. Okay, so the average fixed deposit rate in India, is around 6.37% from 2000 until 2023. Okay, so if you notice what I'm just trying to say, that you have an inflation, government declared inflation is 6.02%. In reality, it's much higher than that. Okay, and interest rates in India average around 6.37% roughly. Okay, even if I just take the government declared data, what is the kind of return you have generated? Okay, and that is where the concept of a real return has come into picture. So the real return is called as a interest, or the kind of return which have been generated on the deployed capital minus the inflation. Okay, that is called the real return. So in simple terms, as the data I have shown you, if your interest rate is 6.37% and your inflation rate is, let's say, 6%, then the deployed capital on the return which have been generated is just 0.37%. Okay, so you have not lose the money, but you have also not grown the money. Okay, it has gone nowhere, your money has gone actually nowhere, but your purchasing power of the money has definitely gone down. Okay, so you need to think that where you are going to invest money, not just to beat the inflation, but also grow your money so that you can sustain your life, you can generate the wealth for yourself and maybe for your next generation. Okay, you should take care of your retirement. You should take care of the child education. In fact, education sector, the inflation is phenomenal. Okay, and you should be very mindful. In fact, there are two areas I personally believe that you should be very careful about it. One is called the child education, and the other one is called your own retirement. Because after the age of 60, let's presume that average retirement age is, let's say, 58 or 60 years. After that, you are going to live around another 30 years, because in India now the health has improved a lot because of the kind of research and the kind of medicines and the kind of infrastructure has improved into the healthcare sector. So roughly you're going to live, let's say, on an average, let's say, 20 to 30 years, and that period you have to live. So if you're not mindful about your investments, believe me, your retirement period can become very difficult. Nevertheless, let me show you the actual comparison for which I'm making this particular video. And I have taken one large cap fund. By the way, I have an investments into this particular fund. And it's a declaration, and I have taken the data from the year of 2003. And let's say if you have invested 1 lakh rupee into this particular fund in 2023. In fact, this is the recent data I have taken, which is the 14th September 2023. The 1 lakh have become 33 lakh, and the annualized return is around 18%. Whereas if you had take the same amount invested in a fixed deposit, it has given you return of 1 lakh could have become around 3.94, let's say 4 lakh rupees, and annualized return is around 6.85%. And the gold has given you around 12 and naught percent. So you can see there's a huge gap between annualized returns from the large cap fund vis-a-vis to fixed deposit as well as the gold. Okay, now let's see the other category of fund. Let's say the mid cap fund. So I have taken a mid cap fund in which I had investments. Okay, and let's say I've taken the same duration of year 2003, and if you have invested 1 lakh rupee, on 14th September 2023, the value is around 91 lakh rupees. Okay, annualized return is 24%. Fixed deposit is just 6.85, and the gold has given you around 12 and 12.4%. So you can see in the beginning everything looks same, mutual fund, fixed deposit, gold, everything looks same. But the way, the time which you invest into the market, and your investment, it starts compounding. Okay. I always say the train is running and you have to catch a train. You don't have to think that market is high, market is low, market is stagnant. Market is always moving at their own pace and will keep moving. It's not going to stop. It's up to you. You need to decide and start the investment, and you need to spend time in the market rather than timing the market. Okay. I will repeat myself. You need to spend time in the market rather than timing the market to generate the wealth for yourself. Now let's see another category of fund, which is called the small cap fund. And this time I have changed the duration. Let's say from 2008, I have taken the data, and same for the fixed deposit and gold as well. If you have invested, let's say 1 lakh rupee, it had generated 16.44% kind of return, and your 1 lakh rupee have become 10.5 lakh, whereas in gold it has become around 3 lakh, and sorry, in fixed deposit around 3 lakh, and the gold is around 5.5 lakh. And the gold has given you around 11.48%. Fixed deposit has given you around 7% kind of return. I'm a firm believer that you should not put all your eggs in one basket. That's why I always recommend that you should have the portfolio diversification. You should have some exposure into the gold and some exposure into the real estate as well. And fixed deposit, I leave it to your choice that how you invest and why you want to invest. Okay. So when I say why you want to invest, the three things needs to be very clear. What is the purpose of investment? Why I'm doing the investment? What is the purpose of investment is to be very, very clear. What is the time allocated to that particular purpose is also very important, because if you have just 1 year or 2 year to achieve the goal, then equity is not the preferred route. So why is very important. Time is very important, and based on the goal and the time you have, you should decide the kind of investments you need to do. Okay. And nowadays there are different categories of fund have come into the market. Someday I will explain that what are the different type of mutual funds are there. But I personally believe that you should have a plain vanilla funds in your portfolio. If you have 4 or 5 funds that are good enough to generate the wealth for you, you should not make investments into 10 to 12 funds just because the names are different, the categories are different, and you think they are going to generate the returns for you. Let me tell you, the more number of funds you have in your portfolio, it's going to have the drag on your performance. So keep the portfolio very simple. Decide the goal you want to achieve, allocate the time, and accordingly you should do the. This is and the category of fund is called Flexi Cap Fund, and I have changed the duration again from 2005. And let's see, you have invested 1 lakh rupee into the Flexi Cap Fund. It has become 18 lakh today. When I say today, that is up to 14 September 2023. Whereas the fixed deposit and gold has just given you 7% and 12.81% kind of return. Whereas the Flexi Cap has given you around annualized return is around 17%. So these are the different categories of funds. I want to highlight you for the last 10 years, 5 years, 3 years kind of a return which have been generated. And I have highlighted certain funds like small cap, mid cap, multi cap. Now, multi cap is a new category of fund. If you invest in a multi cap fund, you get an exposure into the all the three categories, which is called large cap, mid cap, and the small cap, based on certain percentage. Okay. For example, one fund house have the multi cap fund, which is 50% into the large cap, 25% into the mid cap, and 25% into the small cap funds. So it's a mandatory exposure. Whereas the flexi cap do not have that kind of flexi cap can go anywhere kind of a fund. So yes, you need a different kind of funds in your portfolio to generate returns for you. Certain exposures you can take to generate the alpha. For example, small cap fund. which is doing phenomenally well for the couple of maybe years, in fact, I will say. But you should be very, very mindful. As I said, you need to be very, very clear that why you are doing the investments, what is the purpose of investment, and what is the time duration I have. Because the more time you give to your investments, believe me, the compounding happens if you invest time into the market. If your time horizon is just 3 years or 2 years, I will request you not to invest into the equity funds. For that, you have a different kind of product or instruments to invest. Okay, so there are certain funds I have highlighted into a different color, as you can see. But the most important thing I would like to highlight, that none of the funds in the last 10 years has given you less than 10% kind of a return, as you can see over here. Not less than 10% kind of return. None of the funds have been given. Even the infrastructure fund has given you 18% kind of return in the last 10 years. A small cap has given 15.16. Index funds has also given you 13.54. I don't know what else you need to generate the money, in fact, for yourself and for maybe for your next generation. So I will request you that think about it, where you are doing the investments, why you are doing the investments, and what is the kind of return you are expecting out of investments. I hope I'm able to clear the concept of real return for you, and how the inflation works and why you need to beat an inflation. So with these thoughts, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. If you have learned one or two concepts out of this, kindly put your comments into the comment section, and I will definitely read your comments and will reply for it. Also, I will request you to share this particular video with your friends and the family members. It might help them some other way. एंड आपने अपना बहुमूल्य समय दिया इस वीडियो को देखने के लिए, इसके लिए मैं आपका बहुत 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 आभारी हूँ. थैंक यू वेरी मच.